Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Welcome, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ginny Gunther. I am Dr. Dean's co-host for the next 2 hours, and we will be tripping the light fantastic, all things natural and healthy and wise and wonderful and perfect and amazing that Dr. Dean knows and or has developed herself and generously shares with the entire world, quite literally the entire world, ladies and gentlemen, and is just so gracious to pour herself out with us again this Monday night. I am sitting here holding in my hand the Magnesium Miracle, Discover the Missing Link to Health, 600 medical references in this book. Truly one of the most amazing books ever written as far as alleviating the general population of their magnesium deficiencies. Christiane Northrup says of the book, Dr. Carolyn Dean has been light years ahead of her time when it comes to the crucial mineral magnesium and its many life-saving uses. Her work is a gift to humanity. And you know what? It really honestly is. Her work is a gift to humanity, and it's a gift to us tonight. So we're so glad to have you here. Hopefully you are a fan of Remag, our magnesium product. But if not, maybe you're learning about it for the first time. Maybe you've heard our show before and you're back to be thrilled and delighted, and also to be elevated, because honestly, very few doctors in the world are going to tell you that there's a latent intelligence in your body that will actually work cooperative with building blocks, nutritional building blocks, to actually heal you, relieve you, elevate you, and restore you to the health that you so fondly remember, that you think is a distant memory, and it's really not. It's right here, right at the end of your pinky finger. So, well, again, we're so glad to have her with us. Let me just remind you, Dr. Dean is a medical doctor, and she's also a naturopath and an herbalist and an acupuncturist, and she's an intuitive. She can get you in her little radar, me, and zone in on you. And that's why I always encourage people to call. A chat line's fine, but I like people to call because she's so intuitive in what she does, and she's really gifted in that regard. She will not give medical advice tonight on the show, but she will tell you what she would do if she were you. And believe me, she does do the things that she said she would do, and she does them all. And that's why she looks like she's about 50 when she's not, and she's in great shape, and she's living the most amazing life. So anyway, I just could go on and on about her. I love her so much. But welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you. That's awesome. Once again, my tribute from Ginny, and actually this ageism business, you mentioned it, and there's a young gentleman who's been emailing me about his chronic pelvic muscle spasms, and he says he's been listening to my videos, and I'm just trying to see here. He said, my gosh, you look like, and trying to see the name of this actress that he said I look like, and we both LOL'd about it, but I thought that was really sweet. But it's gone. It's gone in the blaze of all the emails I get each and every day from people all over the world, from our customer service. It just never stops, and it's fine. I learn constantly. I very much appreciate getting the questions that we can get at customer service. Never feel bad about asking any sort of question. The tougher the better, because I learn, customer service learns, and we can put that information to work when we find the answers and help sort things out for the individual, and then we pass them along. And what we're doing today is looking at remineralizing your heart. A lot of our customers are taking Remag and the Remite as well to support the structure and function of their heart. We know that the heart has the highest levels of magnesium in the whole body. And when you know that magnesium is necessary for proper muscle function, and when you know that the heart is one big muscle, it all kind of makes sense. And when you don't have enough magnesium, your muscles don't work that well. They seize up in cramps. You could get leg cramps, but when you get a heart cramp, I mean, that's when they start talking about angina and heart disease. And as soon as you get a crampy heart, they start putting you on all the heart medications because they're not so good at treating heart disease. They're trying to get people on heart medications earlier and earlier and earlier because they still think all they can do for you is give you the drugs. And they haven't got a clue that it's the drugs that are causing more and more magnesium deficiency and more heart symptoms. It seems totally stupid. I mean, it's stupid medicine when you look at the biochemistry of how the cells work and how the muscles and nerves work, how the whole body works. Biochemically, you need these minerals. And if you don't get them, things don't work. You are not deficient in drugs. You're deficient in the building blocks of the body. And that includes protein, too. We've got a lot of testimonials and emails and information from people now who are giving up on vegan vegetarianism because they realize they're not able to get the building blocks anymore, especially the protein building blocks. So we will go to Ginny's blog, Remineralize Your Heart. Magnesium's role in preventing heart disease and strokes is accepted by researchers, yet cardiologists and family doctors and internists have not gotten up to speed with its use. That's because they're detailed by drug reps. We don't have any magnesium reps. I mean, I guess when we make our first billion, we'll just hire a whole bunch of magnesium reps to go to the practitioners' offices and detail them about Remag. But until then, we have to educate people. We have to hope that as you perform better with your health, you pass on that information. Back to the blog. Magnesium was first shown to be of value in the treatment of cardiac arrhythmias in 1935. And since then, there have been numerous double-blind studies showing magnesium to be a benefit for many types of arrhythmias, including atrial fibrillation, ventricular premature contractions, ventricular tachycardia, severe ventricular arrhythmias. Magnesium supplementation has also been shown to be helpful in angina, due either to a spasm of the coronary artery or atherosclerosis. And the atherosclerosis part, that's what they used to say was just cholesterol plaque blocking up the arteries. But what we know to be more true is it's the calcification of the cholesterol. As cholesterol is trying to repair damaged areas in blood vessels, and you can read more about that in my Magnesium Miracle book. But the cholesterol is sort of patching things up. Then if you have too much calcium in your diet or you're taking high-dose calcium supplements or actually any calcium supplements, that will lead you to develop more atherosclerosis. So cardiologists still do not use magnesium to a meaningful degree in their protocols. And they won't. They may never, because they don't learn about it in medical school. It is not a med school curricula, what we know about, I'm having to move because crazy workers are out there sawing away at the bougainvillea. Okay, so I'm in an enclosed room, better known as a bathroom. So the cardiologists, internists, general practitioners will never really get to use magnesium because they never learned about it in med school. And we were told outright that if you haven't learned about something in medical school, it doesn't exist. It's as simple as that. So the less they know about the biochemistry of nutrients, then the less they're going to tell their patients. Now, a sidebar on that is every once in a while we get reports and studies on questionnaires to doctors, asking doctors if they use nutrients, and most of them do. Most of them are taking nutrients, and they don't, well, they would know there is research on nutrients, especially magnesium, thousands and thousands of papers, but if you've noticed in the literature in the past, well, even decade, there are all kinds of vitamin mineral bashing reports and so-called studies. So doctors are less and less inclined to prescribe or recommend something that's bashed in the media, not so much for being attacked by their patients, but by their colleagues. Their colleagues will put them down for not being scientific and not realizing that these nutrients are wasteful and even harmful. So it's all quite ridiculous, all very stupid. The research paper that Ginny put in the blog is 2017 paper by cardiovascular researchers James J DiNicolantonio. He also wrote a book about sea salt, and James O'Keefe and William Wilson. They updated the cardiac community with their research demonstrating once again the correlation between magnesium deficiency and heart disease. So if you look that up, let me see where I put that. Everything's falling away today. I've got so many files open. It's called Subclinical Magnesium Deficiency and Heart. And I'm afraid it's not coming up for me. If I go to drcarolyndeanlive.com, pull up Ginny's blog where you can be reading it, you can click on the paper. It's called Subclinical Magnesium Deficiency, a Principal Driver of Cardiovascular Disease and a Public Health Crisis. And this urgent call to action is part of the abstract. And this is very important, but have you seen a New York Times headline? No. You will see an anti-vitamin report instead. They end up saying subclinical magnesium deficiency increases the risk of numerous types of cardiovascular disease, costs nations around the world an incalculable amount of healthcare costs and suffering, and should be considered a public health crisis. That an easy, cost-effective strategy exists to prevent and treat subclinical magnesium deficiency should provide an urgent call to action. So this is the paper you want to print up and take to your doctor. Subclinical magnesium deficiency, a principal driver of cardiovascular disease and a public health crisis. Please print it up, have it on hand when your doctor says, as I think I have 2 mailbag reports today, 2 emails from people who said they went in, told their doctor they were feeling so much better with magnesium, and their doctor said, well, that can't be true. Very, very stupid. That's my word for today. Stupid is as stupid does. The last paragraph in the blog, I think, maybe second last, because serum magnesium does not reflect intracellular magnesium, the latter making up more than 99% of total body magnesium. Most cases of magnesium deficiency are undiagnosed. Furthermore, because chronic diseases, medications, decrease in food crop magnesium, and the availability of refined and processed foods, the vast majority of people in modern societies are at risk for magnesium deficiency. True, true, true. Certain individuals will need to supplement with magnesium in order to prevent suboptimal magnesium deficiency, especially if trying to obtain an optimal magnesium status to prevent chronic disease. So, public health crisis, last paragraph. However compelling this research is, the sad fact is that your doctor is unlikely to tell you about magnesium supplementation for heart rhythm issues, but we are happy to do it for them. With years of research and success, with our effective protocol on magnesium and mineral supplementation, along with amino acids like taurine and methionine, the whole protocol is a true game changer for individuals who struggle with AFib, PVCs, and other heart rhythm issues. But we aren't treating these diseases. That's illegal. What we are doing is, as we say, doing the dietary supplementation for deficiencies. The heart testimonials, I think we had a number of questions today after the blog, but what seemed to be happening is we were getting very personal, individual, specific sets of questions. But I had in my list some testimonials. One from Facebook, been using Remag and Remite for 2 years with excellent results. It's very helpful for my AFib. My son and daughter use it also. A friend of my son's was having AFib attacks on a daily basis, which stopped upon his use of Remag. She continues, everyone I know that has used it is very pleased and healthier. Every cell in our bodies needs magnesium to perform its daily jobs, especially the heart and brain. Another Facebook, been taking Remag for 9 months and playing a lot of golf and no sign of AFib. Fantastic product. And then we get emails and blogs and information from our customers when people go through their ups and downs of taking the products. So here's an interesting one from a daughter who said, my mother's been using Remag, Remite, and Reline for about 3 years. When we started the protocol, she got up to 3 teaspoons of Remag for a therapeutic dose. She kept using all 3 products for several months. No AFib symptoms, feeling much better. Went to 2 teaspoons for maintenance for the past couple of years, no problems. About a month and a half ago, she started experiencing irregular heartbeats, palpitations, etc. When I asked if she was taking all her stuff, she finally admitted that she cut back to 1 teaspoon daily months ago. And the daughter says, ugh. So I suggested she get back on the 2 teaspoons, and while symptomatic, maybe she needs 3 for a while. She got back to 2 teaspoons too quickly and experienced a laxative effect. And she ended up in the ER last week and has seen a cardiologist this week as the symptoms are still occurring. The cardiologist suspects a leaky valve and wanted to do further testing, wanted her on an antiarrhythmia drug that costs $450 a month, and she says she won't do it. What a mess. Mom is 84 and so afraid to get the runs. She says 2 teaspoons is all she can handle. So I ordered 2 bottles of Remag lotion and will have her use it a couple times a day, 4 and 5 pumps at a time. So you can see that this is going to happen commonly, where people think, well, I'm all better. I don't have to take what was making me better in the first place. I'll just, cut way back. You don't do that. Magnesium is like a food that you will always require. And the questions were interesting. I'll go through them. If she has a leaky valve, this needs repair, right? And I answered, well, if it's mitral valve prolapse, that can be mostly magnesium deficiency. So that can turn around if there is even a leaky valve. Will leaky valve cause AFib symptoms? And I said, no, but they are both magnesium deficiency symptoms. Using the lotion to get her additional magnesium, is that okay? I said, yes. The recipe is that for each teaspoon, there's 200 milligrams of magnesium. A teaspoon of Remag liquid is 300 milligrams. And I continued, I know spraying on Remag is another option. She said that, looking for the easiest thing. And then I just continued with you're doing the right thing with the cream, etc. It's a shame that this all happened. And then a month later, just a few days ago, there was an update. And she said, my mom loves the Remag lotion, has been using it faithfully along with 2 teaspoons of Remag and her Remite. She's getting about 1,000 milligrams of magnesium a day, Remag magnesium. She decided not to take the prescribed antiarrhythmia medication, and because it made her feel horrible, she also said no to the blood thinner. Now, we don't tell people to not take drugs. It's just people make their own decision. And the daughter continues, I had to let you know that she just called me to say she spoke with the doctor who prescribed these drugs and told them she had decided not to take them because of the brain fog, nausea, etc. She let him know she was previously on a regime of magnesium and minerals for years that took all her symptoms away. She said she had let it lapse and got behind in taking it, and that's why her symptoms had returned. And the daughter puts in brackets, way to go, Mom. Yeah, you got to tell your doctor these things. She told him she was back on track with her minerals and is already feeling better. This is the route she has chosen to take. He let her know that if this is what she wants to do, okay, but to know that the magnesium will not help her issues. So that's what we're up against, folks, is even in the face of knowing how much better you are on your protocols and what you're doing to help yourself, your doctor is going to ignore it and deny it. And if you are subject to your doctor's approval or chastisement and then get it in your mind, well, maybe the doctor knows more than me about my own body, then it's going to be difficult for you to be confident about your protocol. So that is what we are actually up against in customer service with trying to support people in taking their magnesium and minerals and their sea salted water to support the structure and function of their body. And I was going to say mostly their heart, but the structure and function of their whole entire body. So, Ginny, I'm going to go on mute for a second, go back into my little bathroom closet because there's still ridiculous noise, and let you tell me what more you want to hear.
Okay, wonderful. Well, first of all, that was a great, great opening statement and beautifully put together, and it absolutely summarizes why we're here every Monday evening and doing the things that we do, and also what some of the challenges are and also the opportunities. So it laid out perfectly. Now, I want to let you know, Carolyn, already on the chat line, everybody is typing in saying, thank you, Dr. Dean, for the discount on the Remag. Everybody, let's just wait a minute, do this. Everybody who has been a long-term customer knows for a fact that we have never discounted the Remag. Carolyn graciously put it on sale for a few days. It's a 30% off discount on the 16-ounce bottle. There's a coupon code. I think there's a handful left, honestly, and everybody is very, very thrilled about that. So, yes, and they should be, because it's a great product and we want it to go out the door so people can have it on hand. Okay, now, so very, very thankful from everybody. Cecilia's in St. Lucia, so we've got our listeners in St. Lucia. We've got our friends in Australia. We've got our other friends in the UK. We've got all of our friends on the phone lines, and if you do want to talk to Dr. Dean this evening, 602 666-6027 is the phone number, and then you've got to hit *5. *5 on your keypad is the magical thing. It raises your hand in the studio on my computer control screen and lets me know that you have a question or comment. If you don't hit *5, I don't know that you want to talk to Dr. Dean, and we just keep talking and your phone remains muted. So you've got to hit that *5 for me, okay? And when you do that, then I put you on the phone with Dr. Dean, and you can fire away with your questions. Now, let me say that we've got a couple people on here that have been typing in on the chat line asking some pretty complicated questions, and I am encouraging them to call in and talk with you directly, because that is the best way to get the best results. It's the most clear communication of being one-on-one. So again, 602-666-6027 is the number to call. And our good friend Nancy up in Portland also commented and said, I enjoyed the webinar last week, and also the product offer, of course, especially since I was going to place another order for Remag anyway. So if you happen to miss our webinar last week, that's also a tremendous source of information on magnesium supplementation and just generally good information. So that's where we're at. We can do chat line questions or whatever you'd like to do, Carolyn.
Well, Ginny, why don't we just sit down and talk about our nails? How about that?
No, we can't. We have important things.
But people don't know that I paint my nails 5 different colors. I mean, they should know that about me by now. I should send pictures.
Yes, that is true.
However,
she does paint her nails and her toes. Toes, don't leave out the toes.
Oh, I don't do my fingernails. No, I'm too busy typing. It's just my toenails, because living in Hawaii, you're in sandals all the time. But I do bring up nails for a purpose. The purpose is that one of our customers, Ted, has been writing in telling us how he's been saturating his big toenail, which had been riddled with fungus, with Pico silver. And he said he's been, at first he just said how wonderful it was, the toenail grew in normally. So I asked him specifics about what he did, and he said he's been saturating the toenail a few times per week for a few months. And it must have been since May 22nd, because that's when we started the Pico sales. He said, I've seen some fascinating results so far. Last week I was trimming my toenails, and unexpectedly, while trimming the very unsightly big toenail, all the ugly part of the nail just came off without pain. It was detached and totally dead. What's left is a new toenail at the cuticle base, growing in about half the length of the nail. I'm hopeful beyond words, having fought this invader for 50 years unsuccessfully. Toenail growth is very slow. I don't know how many weeks or months I'll be waiting until it grows to full length. In the meantime, I continue to treat it. So far, it looks the best it's looked in decades. So what he seems to have done is just gotten some cotton balls and sort of dabbed the toe. But I don't know what – I'm wondering if you can get those – they're little they're finger gloves. You can get finger gloves, and maybe they would fit over a big toe. I personally would saturate a small bit of cotton ball, stuff it at the end of a finger glove, and put that over a fungal toenail. And that's the way I would keep contact of the Pico silver to the fungus for longer term. And people can chat into us what they would do or how they have treated, because I know people with fungal toenails, they're trying everything, oregano oil, tea tree oil, but those can burn and irritate. With the Pico Silver, I think that's got a much better chance of being something you can use long term that's not going to irritate the skin. So now we can move on, Ginny.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, let's ask this question for Alicia on her behalf and see if she is still listening this evening. If she's here, maybe she would want to call in again, 602-666-6027. Her question is, I have been taking Remag 3.5 teaspoons and 1.5 teaspoons of Remite daily for 8 months. I rarely eat dairy, don't eat gluten 99.8% of the time. I take 7 drops of iodine and Realign and Prescript Assist. I have had AFib. Had 2 ablations, have a small AFib in the upper chamber, but not concerning, said the doctor. But he saw a 5-second period where I wasn't breathing and recommended a sleep center. I am borderline low thyroid. Are there any supplements I can have that can help me offset these sleep issues?
Well, 7 drops of iodine, I'm not keen on, because it gives you too much iodine. I'm trying to find a resource where I can find out how many milligrams are in a drop. But what iodine can do is, without the supporting selenium and other minerals, it can overstimulate the thyroid, and it's actually a trigger for AFib. Let's go back to what she was saying. What are her symptoms?
Okay, so she said, I've been taking the take 7 drops of iodine. I had AFib, had 2 ablations, have a small AFib in the upper chamber, but not concerning, says the doctor. But he saw a 5-second period where I wasn't breathing and is recommending a sleep center. I am borderline low thyroid. Are there any supplements that can help offset these issues?
Well, reread the AFib book, Alicia, because there's a type of what is it? Vagus nerve trigger to AFib, where I think it's related to not breathing, where you'll get a cough when you get a thump of fibrillation or get a thump of extra heartbeat. So I would really still keep looking at the triggers that I talk about, rather than jumping to a whole other. I mean, you can get the sleep test and see if you have sleep apnea, but again, you can Google my name is sleep apnea. I've written for Natural News about sleep apnea and magnesium deficiency. So it still can be revolving around magnesium deficiency. But going back to the 7 drops of iodine, personally, I would wean myself off that iodine, because the Remite will have the optimum amount of iodine in relation to the other 8 minerals that the thyroid requires, and keep everything in balance, instead of revving things up with, quote, high-dose iodine. So there.
Yeah, very good, yes. And there are some, what is the quote-unquote theory on high-dose iodine?
Well,
like, who would do that?
Well, a lot of people. I know one of the latest books was by someone who was promoting it for breast cancer, and that's a serious condition, and people will, quote, try anything. But then before that, it was the Dr. Brownstein, and that came out of information where iodine can help antidote or neutralize kind of toxic minerals like bromine that have been used in making bread and have blocked the thyroid. or they will measure the iodine in the body and say, well, I think the amount was, there's 50 milligrams in the body of iodine. So we obviously need more than the RDA, which is something like, I think it's 500 micrograms, which is what we stay with. I don't want my products taken off the market because we're using high doses, but at the same time, we're just using 75 micrograms per 3/4 teaspoon serving. And let's look up the RDA of iodine. I mean, there are reasons for the RDA, but people just keep saying that, well, the RDA is low and we need more and more and more. Well, we need more and more and more because the RDA isn't even in our food supply anymore. But when you're taking the Remag and Remite, you're getting 100% absorbed minerals they're stabilized ions, and they're absorbed directly into the cells, so they work. You don't have to force high-dose minerals into a body when you have the right minerals. So, yes, the RDA for iodine in men and women is 150 micrograms per day. So we're using 75 per dose. We recommend 2 doses a day, so you're getting the RDA. And with Brownstein and the gang who recommends high dose, I guess they're trying to push things. They're trying to drive the body to do something. And it was all the vogue, a number of years ago, high dose vitamin C, which is just ascorbic acid, and high dose everything. And as I not jokingly say all the time, the only high-dose nutrient that you can get away with, in my opinion, is magnesium, and to use it in the form of Remag so that it doesn't cause a laxative effect. So I don't know if that's enough of an answer, but, yeah, the high-dose iodine, we learned from there's an iodine antiarrhythmia drug, a Motorone or something, and it's been known to really suppress people's thyroids by having this iodine molecule in high amounts. And I know high-dose iodine, and we get the same thing from high-dose vitamin D people that, well, it really helped me, and, I'm not going to stop it. And well, do what you want to do, but I'm not going to be recommending these high-dose nutrients when even, one person can be harmed by it. I mean, what's the point? This is not an option where you can say, well, you win, you win some, you lose some. That's not the way the Hippocratic Oath is supposed to go. So that's my rant about iodine.
Very good. And also, do you think that it could cause the sleeplessness or the disruption or whatever?
Yes, that's the point. High-dose iodine, when the body doesn't need it, the body's doing well on the amount of iodine from the Remite. It will boost the metabolism and keep you activated and hypervigilant, so it's difficult to sleep.
Yeah, okay, very good. Excellent. All righty, and then let's take another question. Sonia typed in and said, my daughter took Remag the other night because she could not relax. It didn't take her long for her to absorb the Remag because she felt relaxed enough to go to bed. That's sweet. And the Remag is automatically absorbed, right, Carolyn?
Yes, Ginny.
Yeah, very
automatically.
Good.
Immediately.
Immediately. And then Vivian types in, okay, I have had paroxysmal AFib since 2011, with episodes relieved by propafenone, which occurred every 1.5, or 2 years. Since almost 3 weeks ago, I have been fibrillating nonstop, and they think I'm going into a permanent AFib now. I take 600 milligrams of Remag and 1 teaspoon of Remite. The beta blockers I am on have side effects, which I really don't like. Do you have any suggestions for me? So I asked her to which beta blockers she's taking, and could she call into the show, and I haven't heard back from her. So, Wendy, just type in and let me know if you're still here.
Well, that type of thing, I mean, that's really serious. That's not something that we can talk about to give any impression that REMAG can help such a dangerous situation. I don't know if you can just define it as a magnesium deficiency fibrillation. There could be heart damage or something else going on. And that's where we tell people, well, you have to get with your cardiologist, take the medication required. Magnesium, REMAG can still be taken along with medications. And as the acute phase dies down, sorry, I shouldn't have used that word, but as the acute phase is taken care of, then in the aftermath, you can look at all the AFib triggers and try to figure out what's going on. But that's a serious situation, and it needs medical management.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Judy typed in, a homeopathic doctor told me it would be better to use an isotonic salt formula than taking Celtic sea salt that I've been using since taking REMAG. Is the Celtic sea salted water an isotonic solution? Thank you for your opinion, and thank you for the 30% off discount.
Well, sea salt, if you can get a good one that has some color to it, which shows that the minerals are still in there, when you dissolve sea salt in water, it becomes an isotonic solution. If you look up ionization, ions are formed in solution. What we've done with REMAG and REMIDE is stabilize those ions to make them far better absorbed. So I don't know the isotonic solution you're using. I don't know if the homeopathic doctor is selling it, but I've used concentrates and various isotonic solutions over the years, and I still think that putting your sea salt in water is the very best thing in balance, because IN space balance, because you're hydrating your body with that water and the sea salt. It's going in very gradually. An isotonic formula, it's probably, well, take a teaspoon and you're done. And that's not the way the cells want to absorb. So I'll stand by the sea salt and water.
Excellent, excellent. Robert typed in, I've been taking a combination of L-threonate, taurate, orotate, glycinate, and aspartate to cover the bases. I do have an occasional irregular heartbeat. My MAG RBC is normal range, although it's on the low side. Does taking the Pico size work more directly than the forms I've already been taking?
Absolutely, Robert. What we have in the Magnesium Miracle Book 2017 is, I just end up saying, look, take Epsom salts baths. If you have constipation, use natural calm magnesium citrate, but always add the REMAG to get it in your cells. The threonate, they did a rat study and pretended that a 7% improvement over magnesium citrate absorption made threonate the best magnesium for your brain. That's not true. Even 4% absorbed magnesium oxide helps the brain. The taurate, yes, I used to say that was a good one for the heart, but what we did was we put taurine in our Realign so you could get your taurate that way. Orotate, people said that was well absorbed. All these gave me the laxative effect, every one of them, so they're not completely absorbed. Aspartate, I don't recommend that at all, because according to Russell Blaylock, the neurosurgeon, he says that aspartate compounds can break down to the aspartic acid that's as a standalone amino acid, it can be detrimental brain neurotransmitter. If your MAG-RBC levels are normal low, that's too low. You want to be in the 80th at the top of the 80th percentile, which means 6.0 to 6.5. And the Pico silver, what we hear from our customers every day is that, yes, I was taking this, that, and the other magnesium. I still had symptoms. My MAG-RBC was low. I started taking Pico silver, and the world changed for me because they're finally getting magnesium absorption. That's what it's all about. It's how much are you absorbing at the cellular level to make your body biochemistry work.
Excellent. Very good. Excellent response. Judy wanted to say thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Dr. Dean, for your response about the isotonic formulas. Theo, can an elevated lipoprotein A condition be helped with magnesium?
Well, what the cholesterol promoters of heart disease have done is they've tried to say lipoprotein A, oh, that's the bad cholesterol. That's the one we have to attack with statin drugs. And I've got a few new reports. I'm always scanning Medscape and find the most outrageous things. They're trying to say now, well, you know, people who think the HDL cholesterol is safe, you think again. And another report said, well, we have to bash LDL cholesterol down even further. All that is beside the point that cholesterol is not the trigger for heart disease. You have to read the book by Malcolm Kendrick. He's a Scottish medical doctor, and he's written an awesome book, and he has a great sense of humor. And there are a lot of negative cholesterol books out now, and I'm finding the name of his book because there's so many. And his book is called The Great Cholesterol Con. You must read that book so that you don't get brainwashed into thinking, oh, my lipoprotein A is high. Seriously, it probably doesn't matter. I'm just making a generalization, Theo. I don't know about your case, but personally, I wouldn't worry about my elevated lipoprotein A. I tend to have high cholesterol, and I don't worry about it. I really do believe that I said about them making you scared now of HDL and wanting you to take more statins to really drive your LDL down. When you read about the function of cholesterol and realize that if you don't have it for your brain, you can be subject to global amnesia. If you don't have it for your sex hormones, you can, what happens when, you need Viagra. That's what happens when you take too much in the way of statins, and then you can get all those muscle side effects. One of the blogs I've got in the lineup, I talk about a new paper that says, yes, you can get this inflammatory myositis, which means muscle inflammation and irritation from statins. And they've known from day one that statin drugs cause muscle problems. A third of people taking statins will or can have muscle aches and pains, for which they go to the doctor and get an anti-inflammatory NSAID drug. And what's one of the side effects of NSAIDs? It's lowering your magnesium. So I don't believe in elevated lipoprotein A. I'm sorry.
Very good. Excellent. Perfect question to ask. Dr. Dean. Very good answer. Okay, now let's talk to for a minute. Let me just hear from Marv. Dr. Dean, I must say, miracles happen all the time. It's no wonder when Jesus was here, he was with and around doctors. My family that was with me for 2 weeks, crying and cannot believe that he can play golf, which he loves so dearly, without pain. 2 teaspoons daily of Remag, 1 teaspoon of Remite, a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, and painlessly playing golf. I have been so thankful for these products that I am a true believer forever. To notice my family barely going up and down the stairs and now becoming a true believer and now living a painless life, he is also a customer for life. Thank you, Dr. Dean. After 3 unnecessary surgeries and suffering from endless knee pain, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Wow.
No.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, Marv has been chatting in for a long time, so that's wonderful to get an update. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Lana is asking what amount of Remag would be appropriate for a 4-month-old infant. And I have to say, Lana, we can't answer that question. The FDA prohibits making any recommendation for any mineral product for any child under the age of 4. So we can't respond to that one today. Right, Dr. Dean?
Yes, that's right. You can ask your pediatrician what's the RDA for infants, or you can find that online. But we're not able to tell you that.
Very good. Jess typed
but I wonder. Let me just say, I wonder. I'm sure we can tell people to put infants in a bit of Epsom salts, though.
Yes, we can't make a dosing recommendation for our product, but yes, Epsom salt baths, sure.
Yeah, you could do that. You could look up a midwife association and find out how much they recommend in an infant bath. Adults will take 1 to 2 cups, and I'm sure infants would be, a fraction of that. So there.
Okay, wonderful. I will say, now Theo's typing in again, and he's saying on the chat line, Carolyn, if an elevated lipoprotein A is not a concern for heart disease, what does it denote?
I have no idea. I seriously don't bother with these things because what happens is they will keep excavating the minutia of lipids until they find this, that, or the other thing that are elevated or too low, and then scare the population into taking a drug for the possibility that it's a problem. Read the cholesterol con so you'll learn about these things. And Malcolm Kendrick has a blog site. You could probably type in the question to him and find out what he's saying about this new, this new fad to measure lipoprotein A, and new in terms of the past 10 years, and that's pretty new,
right,
in modern medicine. But here's a Medscape article I'm writing about. It says faulty lipid metabolism linked to Alzheimer's. Now, that's just the title. So my first question is, how many of these people that they're studying are on statins, and the faulty metabolism is caused by taking statin drugs and leading to Alzheimer's? I mean, they're manipulating people's bodies so much with medication, we don't even know what's normal anymore.
I typed in 2 links into the chat line for Theo, Carolyn. One is from Malcolm Kendrick, and if you do, just like with Carolyn, if you Google Dr. Carolyn Dean calcium, Dr. Carolyn Dean vitamin D, all of her blogs come up. Well, I Googled Dr. Malcolm Kendrick lipoprotein A, and he's got a whole blog that addresses that issue and also provided a link to his YouTube, Why Cholesterol Does Not and Cannot Cause Heart Disease. This is the cholesterol hypothesis is wrong. You can find that on YouTube for those who are listening to the archives. So, and I'll put them in the show notes on the, Melody Rose will, on the information that we distribute every week. So you've got those two reference points, BO2, and it'll take you on a fascinating education of discovery around this whole topic. It's very liberating once you really dive into what's going on. Okay, let's see. And what else do we have? Lana said thank you, advice for a child. Okay, we have 2 minutes before the top of the hour, so let's do this. Hi, Dr. Dean and Ginny. Questions on Pico Silver. Can I mix Pico Silver with Remag and or RNA drops into one bottle, a week supply, for convenient purposes? Is it safe to use diluted Pico Silver as an eye ear drops, and what's the best ratio? Is anybody experiencing any skin discoloration over time? Thank you and have a fantastic week. Hugs, Jess.
Okay, you can mix Pico Silver with Remag, Remite, Recalcia, no problem. Never mix your RNA drops with any of the minerals. RNA drops are standalone. Under the tongue, you're fine. 15 minutes between meals or before or after food and drink. We can't talk about using eye and ear drops with Pico Silver. We're only allowed to label it for oral use, but you can look at other sites about how that can be used. There's absolutely never going to be any skin discoloration with using Pico Silver. For more information about the awesomeness of Pico Silver, you can go to carolyndeanlive.com and just type in silver and get how many pages is this report?
30 pages, I think.
36.
Yeah.
36-page report on the awesomeness. See you later.
I'll put that link in there. All right, we'll be back at top of the hour. Give us 15, 20 seconds. We'll be right back, everybody. Hang in there.
You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Think of something you hadn't had in a while, like a crazy Italian cream cake, and have it show up, and you not do a thing. You already think of people, and they ring you on the phone now, don't they? Well, reinforce that. And what you'll find then, very quickly, is that there'll be a little cadence. Now, that's a fun way of describing frequency. We call it frequency. And if you frequently get your frequency on, that'll help you in the aligning of frequency. Remember in the old days in the radio, would be driving along, and you'd have to have the knob, and you'd turn it to get it right on station so it'd be clear? Well, you were adjusting your tuner to pick up on that frequency completely. It made no difference how loud the volume was. You get it right on the station, get it right up, and then you could crank it up, and you can have it just as loud as you can stand it. But the easier way to go at this is focus on the frequency of your frequency, and then you'll notice a rhythm or a cadence. And then the rhythm or the cadence will allow you to easily identify and connect with that frequency, or allow your tuner to more easily hit the nail on the head.
AchieveRadio.com.
Here we go now. Up to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Up to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
Welcome back, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. Just wanted to give a love shout out to all of our regular listeners who tune in every week, and we know you're there, and also the people who listen to our archives and download the podcast. It's just fun. We learned so much from our customers and our listeners and everybody who shares their heart and their information and wants to not only achieve the health desires of their hearts, but also support others in achieving theirs. And it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you, everybody, one and all. Carolyn Robert, who asked about all the 3 and 8 taurate and orotate, is typing in and says, big thanks. I have a bottle of Remag on the way. Hopefully it will take me to a new level. I have been 95% organic for 20 years. I trained in Europe and use BEMER to get things to my cells. And at 80 years old, I am super healthy. So now I will solve the occasional irregular heartbeat, though never have had symptoms except during extreme stress in 2011. I had a stroke. Now entirely recovered and calling myself a vitality coach. So that's exciting. Carolyn, do you know what BEMER is?
I just looked it up. It's a machine signaling device. It says, there are a lot of electrical pulsation devices, micro vessel circulation, pulsed electromagnetic frequency, etc. But what we know about any of these electrical devices, and even hands-on healing, body work, any of this mind-body therapy, we're constantly getting reports from our customers that it's when they get their minerals balanced with Remag, Remite, etc., that these things really do work. So, of course, we just think, well, just let the electrolytes do what the body should do naturally instead of relying on energy stimulators or these products. I know. Anyway, I've talked about that before. I think that these products are trying to stimulate your electrolytes or your circulation, whereas all you need to do is have enough of the right electrolytes in your cells to make your body work.
Okay, very good. Very, very good. Yes. And another thing that we found out that was so fabulous and fascinating, Robert, was that silver has the highest electrical frequency of any of the minerals. And it seems that when people who have been our longstanding customers and have been taking the Remag and Remite for a while and had been saturated, started dropping the silver into their bodies, they just got hyped up. I mean, we're talking blissed out, mood elevation, incredible bursts of energy, all kinds of perspective changes, and then the really anomalous kinds of healings of tissues and, these kinds of things, cartilage, joints, all kinds of stuff was happening. So I think there is a lot, of course, to what Dr. Dean is saying, and also when you put the silver in on that ramps things up as well. So think about that, Robert. Sounds like you're open and excited and amazing, and I think you'd love it. That's just Ginny talk right there. Okay, Carolyn, Joan is saying, Dr. Dean, I am trying to do a keto diet after going on an extended fast, and when I eat fats, nuts, MTC oil, and almost anything with the high fat content, I get weak and nauseous. Do you have any idea what's going on?
Gallbladder, gallbladder, gallbladder.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, look at you. Gallbladder, gallbladder, gallbladder. All right, Joan, there you go. Now, what's she supposed to do about that? Go see the doctor?
Well, yeah, you have to get an ultrasound to see if you've got gallstones that are blocking your expulsion of bile to help digest those fatty foods. It's bile that will do that work, and if you don't have enough bile, then they can kind of back up on you and make you burpy and nauseous, etc. So be good to look into that. And that I've written that in the Reset Your Ideal Weight, that the one drawback of the keto diet, in my opinion, can be the gallbladder inability to handle all this excess fat.
Outstanding. Thank you. Super Dougie from San Diego's on the chat line, Carolyn, and he's rocking it out with this comment, which is amazing. My supervisor has arthritis in her knee, and I asked her to start the Remag lotion. 3 weeks later, the pain in her knee went away completely after 1.5 years of constant daily pain.
Okay, so Super Dougie, did she give you a raise? That's the question.
That's right. That's right. Doug's in he's in the presidential suite now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very good. Well, I have to tell you, our dear friend Deborah has a butcher who his hands were all cut up and everything. She started taking him some Remag. He started using it. His hands completely changed. Then other people now the whole store is on the products. They're all of them. They just all love. They've had back pains and of course standing all day, cooking, prepping food, hauling boxes, all the rest of this. So it is contagious, Dougie. So we're not mocking you. Seriously, you could probably get the company under the Remag. Everybody will calm down, right? And they'll be so pleasant to work with. And then the next thing you know, you'll El Presidente. That'll be going on right there. Very, very good. Okay, excellent. All right, so I think we're caught up on our chat line business, and I imagine, let me look and see who's calling to chat. Oh, waving hands galore. All right. Are you ready for some phone calls, Carolyn?
Sure. Let them in. Open the door. Let them in. Let's
open the door. Paul McCartney. All right, let's go out to 818 Van Nuys, California, the great state of California. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yeah, it's Barry, Dr. Dean. We've spoken a couple of times, long time ago.
Yes, Barry.
A year and a half ago. I was a singer that called you, and you said, oh, my God. Anyway, I've been in AFib. I'm in AFib all the time. But I don't feel it or I don't hear it. I don't sense it except if I put my little stethoscope on once in a while. I take my cardiologist also spent a couple of years studying alternatives, so she's very open for supplementation. So I don't take a blood thinner other than NATO Cerezyme. I take to slow my heart down because I had a faster heartbeat. I take digoxin, 125 mg digoxins a day. And then I do, maybe a teaspoon of turmeric, and I'll do, some ginkgo biloba in the morning, and DHEA, and just some basic stuff, and maybe a vitamin mineral supplement. So I did order about a year and a half ago one order of the Remab and Remite, and I just didn't stay with it. It was my fault. So now I want to get on it and make a regimen of it. And just do it because she suggested recently, I went in, I'm 76, she said, well, I'm not going to tell you to do this, but you could look at it as an option. And she was suggesting the Watchman implant procedure. You're familiar with that, I'm sure. Do you know which one I mean by Watchman?
Yes, I've just read about it. But yes, I don't know anything about it beyond just what I'm reading.
Well, it goes into that area where the little sac is in your one chamber, and it'll go in and open up as an umbrella and blocks any, if there's any forms of clots that would form, it would block any of those coming into your bloodstream. But then I called my cousin to talk to her about it, and her daughter's been a nurse for 30-odd years and kind of helped administrate a hospital. She just said when you're your age or older, they've found even with a couple of her friends that when they did the general anesthesia, it affected dementia in them. And there's a big thing about that. So she said I would be cautionary of that. So that's what kind of got me thinking again about just really focusing on the, doing the Remag and Remite and whatever else it might need to kind of, bring this around.
Right, and yes, See, when I hear you say, well, natto and digoxin, fine, but then turmeric, the reason why turmeric may be helpful in people is because apparently it's high in magnesium. What I just keep saying to people, it really does seem if you can saturate with magnesium, and you can do that quite easily with the Remag because it isn't laxative. And when we can really urge people to get the magnesium at a therapeutic level of like 3 teaspoons a day. I had to take the 4 teaspoons for a year and a half or so before I got rid of my heart palpitations. So I know that it does take consistency, and it just makes so much sense when you can look at all the literature on magnesium and what it does for the body. There's nothing else that comes close to it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm doing magnesium-wise in the evening, just to keep regular, at night before I go to bed, I'll take 3 flat teaspoons of the Natural Vitality Calm. You're probably familiar with that.
Right.
But it only gives when you do, they talk about teaspoons. I'm sure those are rounded. I take 3 flat ones, and it just kind of, but somebody said to me it might also affect the sleep pattern to take so much magnesium before you go to bed. I don't know. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe it's not. But I'm not taking what you're talking about, For a while I was, a couple of years ago. But now I'd like to get back to that. You're feeling like 1,000 or more milligrams of the right type of magnesium in the body.
Right, and go up slowly. I think the best thing to do, Barry, is go back to the AFib book that I wrote. I don't know if you recall.
I don't have that book. I had the Magnesium Miracle, and
right.
That's the one book I read. I never had the AFib book.
Oh, good. Well, then you'll see in the AFib book the dosage, the triggers for AFib. There may be things in there that will remind you of things that you should be cautious about. So that's at drcarolyndeanlive.com under books. It's just a free download. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that. And, yes, just do that. Do the sea salt and water. If you can do the Remite as well. It's just getting the building blocks for the whole body that medicine is not paying any attention to.
You're suggesting I should get the Remite, and do what? The Celtic pinch of Celtic salt with every 8-ounce glass of water I do a day?
Well, it's more like a quarter teaspoon in a liter of water, and the water guidelines are to take your body weight, cut that in half, and drink that many ounces of sea salted water. Yeah, so that's the whole water guidelines. And if perhaps, since you're on the digoxin, just to detoxify some of the downstream chemicals from digoxin breakdown, I would look at taking Realign. The Realign has the methylated food-based vitamin Bs, and the B deficiency can be a trigger for AFib because the Bs, as well as magnesium, they'll keep the adrenaline under control, and sometimes people will get a surge of adrenaline that'll trigger their AFib. So as you've said, you have it all the time. So what is this constant trigger? To me, maybe it is magnesium deficiency that is the underlying constant trigger. So just do the experiment, make it an experiment and follow it through and see what happens.
So again, I'm asking, Remag, Remite, sea salt water.
And I've just added Realign because,
Do that along with it? You're saying take those 3?
Correct. That's what I would do. I can't tell you to do it, Barry, but that's what I got
you. I got you. My other question was, I did try it, and the idea, I think for me, I tried to do it with the water where I was putting a certain amount, I think when I first got the products a year and a half ago, putting it in the water and sipping it through the day. And then I found I would forget, and I'd try to do too much more in the evening. I think you suggested, isn't there something you can take, teaspoons of it through the day, and I don't have to think about it, doing it in water all through the day?
Yes,
sipping water all through the day.
Right. I mean, we got to the point of sipping because a certain percentage of people, when they just tried to take all of it at once or even twice a day, they might develop the laxative effect. I don't know if that'll happen to you, but you have to experiment with it. I know I don't really sip mine through the day anymore. I'll take a teaspoon in the morning and a half a teaspoon at night, something like that. So I'm breaking mine up in 2 doses.
All right. Well, that's what I meant. Can you break it up in 2 or 3 different doses through the day?
Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. I think that's about it. I appreciate that. And you had told me one time, a long time ago, to maybe try to cut the digoxin out, or maybe after it goes through a period of time, if I'm feeling, a major increase in health, and that seems like my AFib is kind of, I don't know, maybe even disappeared. At that time, to maybe I could, of course, the reason I'm taking the digoxin is because my heart was at a faster beat. That's why she wanted me to do it. But it does affect my appetite. I'm tall, 6'1". I'm about 6 foot, and I'm only about 154 pounds. So I should be like 170, 175. So I'm awfully thin. So, yeah, that's what I think the digoxin is sometimes affects your appetite, is what I was getting at.
Yeah, and I've never used digoxin even when I was in practice, so I don't know enough about it. I don't know if it's helping you or not, if you've been taking it a long time. Your body.
It's just helping with the heartbeat. It slows the heartbeat down. That's the only reason I'm taking it, rather than a racing heartbeat.
Right.
It's a faster heartbeat. She wanted me to go on. I'm sorry.
Right. Do you know that for a fact that it's helping? Do you know if it's helping?
I can tell just because I do have a stethoscope, and I can tell that when it was a much faster beat, that the digoxin was helping to slow the rhythm down. Keep it more a slower rate.
Right, and magnesium does the same. So as I've probably said before, as you alluded to, if your heart rate is getting too slow, then that's when you wean the digoxin with your cardiologist overview. That's all. Okay?
All right, great. All right, dear, thank you.
Okay, call back and let us know how it's going, Barry.
I will.
And call in so we can reinforce you to keep doing the experiment. This is
I will.
This is a long-term
I want to give other people time to ask their questions too. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay, excellent. Well, yes, here I am. 602-666-6027 is the number to call if you would like to talk to Dr. Dean tonight. We'll go to Raleigh, North Carolina, area code 919. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hello?
Hello, area code 919. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hi.
Okay,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. What's your first name?
Judy.
Hi, Judy.
I'm new to Hi.
Go ahead.
I'm new to the products, and a few years ago I heard that calcium was not very good for you, and so I just quit calcium. I eat calcium in my diet, not probably enough, and I take a multivitamin, and that's got some calcium, but I quit specific calcium supplements. Well, skip forward to a few years later, and now I've got just diagnosed with osteoporosis. I'm wondering, I'm thinking that I should reintroduce a little bit of calcium into my regimen, and I've started the Remag for about almost 2 weeks now, and I probably did that thing about taking it in concentrated doses and got a little bit of the laxative effect, but I'm not opposing it at all with calcium. So my recalcium came in today. So what are your suggestions about what I should do?
Well, I do have it written. I'll tell you, of course, but I do have it written in my ebook, Remite and Recalcia. And basically, it's as you've discovered, when you take supplemental calcium, it's so badly absorbed, and it does not have the laxative effects. So what's not absorbed tends to stay in the body and precipitate in soft tissues, and it has been highly associated with heart disease because it builds up in the arteries and gallstones, kidney stones, heel spurs, breast tissue calcification. So it's not great, but yes, you do need calcium because that's what makes up our bones and teeth. I recommend 600 milligrams a day, and I go by the UK and World Health Organization guidelines of 600 to 700 rather than the U.S. recommendations, which are outlandishly high. And it balances out usually when people aren't treating a disease entity. If you're taking 600 milligrams of Remag and 600 milligrams of either food-based calcium and or Recalcia. So what you do is get the Remite Recalcia book, look at the list of calcium foods. If you're eating dairy, sometimes you can get enough calcium in your diet. If you're not eating dairy, then you might have to take a teaspoon, which is 300 milligrams of calcium in Recalcia. And you go for Recalcia because it is fully absorbed rather than a calcium supplement that's going to precipitate in the tissues. So those are the basics, Judy.
Okay, I'm thinking to start with maybe 300 of the Recalcia, and just kind of see. Do you think that maybe not having enough calcium on board is causing me to have more of a laxative effect with the Remag?
No, not really. I mean, as you said, you probably took too big a dose and just sort of stirred things up. So just sip it through the day until your body gets used to it. There's some detox. Some people, it does just take a while to get used to it. It's not like the Remag and the Recalcia will necessarily antidote one another. However, I know personally if I eat a lot of yogurt or even cheese, I will need more Remag. So I know that there is that push and pull with calcium and magnesium, and that's what you'll experiment and discover and find out all kinds of interesting things. And don't be afraid to experiment. And this whole business about osteoporosis, it's mostly from lack of magnesium. Quitting your calcium a few years ago, I don't know if that's the cause of some of your osteoporosis. I know I was dairy-free and took no calcium for many years, and then after a while I finally got knee pain, and I realized, well, I better get a calcium product that I can take, and that's when I started to make Recalcia.
Right. Well, I'm definitely doing weight-bearing exercise also. Good. So I will do Judy? I am 72.
Oh, good. Then yes, you'll do fine with the 300 milligrams, the weight-bearing. The doctors will be amazed when you come back and you're not losing any more bone and you're gaining bone, and you'll prove to them. Right. And
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, exactly. And personally, I would not be taking any of the bone drugs because they have just horrible side effects.
Right. And that's the threat under which I am, is that if I don't get this under control in a year, they want me to take Boniva.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you'll prove them wrong, that's for sure. And keep us posted, okay, Judy?
Yes. Thank you for your encouragement. Bye.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye-bye now.
Okay, excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. Again, if you want to talk with Dr. Dean tonight, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad, 602-666-6027, and then *5 on your keypad to let me know that you're here, and we'll put you on the line. And right now I don't have any waving hands, so that means that if you're on the line and you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to hit *5. I say that a lot when I'm talking to new people, and I kind of think they're trying to get a hold of Dr. Dean. Okay, so let's see where we here. Let's do a couple more questions. Oh, by the way, Marv typed back in and said, Dr. Dean, when is the best time to take Pico Silver, time of day? I forgot to tell you my cousin started taking the Pico Silver too. Now this is helping him to feel on top of the world.
Wow. Yes, it was her cousin. It was Marv's cousin that had that arthritic knee pain, and he's the one that's running up and down the stairs. So that's wonderful. There's no best time for Pico Silver as far as I can figure out. When I got rid of my airplane cold in 12 hours, I just took a teaspoon every hour and a half. I took 6 teaspoons. And now I take it along with my Remag in the morning. I'm just taking a teaspoon a day, but I'm going to be traveling tomorrow. And I think I'll try to take 2 teaspoons while I'm traveling. And we should say that our shows are going to be interrupted for several weeks because I'm going to be pretty remote and flying on several of the Mondays. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Right,
yeah,
Judy?
Definitely. That's right. And if you're listening to the archive, you've got to email support at RNA Reset in Carolyn's absence. But, yeah, we will be actually off the air until September 10th. That's how long the break is, Carolyn. Starting next week, all the way through, and then Labor Day is another Monday. Bill will not be operating any live shows on that. He's taking that as a personal holiday. So we will not be back until September 10th, but then we're coming back with Dr. Steven Sinatra. So that's fun.
Very good. Yes, and you can listen to the archives in the meantime and catch up, and certainly customer support is still going to be there. I'll still be on the internet, so I'll be able to answer questions there. And Ginny's going to be around for most of the time, so all will be well.
Yes, of course, absolutely. Now, let's see. Melanie's typing in. I wonder if my body needs to be fully saturated with Remag and mineralized with Remite before introducing the Pico Silver. I've heard it's great for blocked sinuses, and I've got sinus polyps, so I'd like to get that cleared up before detoxing makes it more inflamed.
Well, you can take Pico Silver anytime, seriously.
Yeah. We're
finding out that more and more that I think Pico Silver has less Herxheimer than the other antifungals. See, I started out with the Pico Silver, putting it in with the yeast detox protocol, and people do seem to have less Herxheimer. And then we're getting all the incredible testimonials about all the other things it's doing. So you can just take it any time, no problem.
Very good. Joan types in, Dr. Dean, I'm not into allopathic medicine, so what herbs would you suggest if, in fact, I have a gallbladder issue? Also, I'm going to Africa for a year, do not want to take malaria drugs, have purchased Neem, N-E-E-M. Do you have any other suggestions?
Wow. No, that really gets into practicing medicine without a license. I'm afraid to tell you what to do for gallbladder. But first, you have to get the ultrasound to see if that's the problem, or is it? What else could it be?
Well, let's just say, Carolyn, because you use allopathic medicine, you've had your ears operated on, I use it. I mean, your words, I always tell people, first of all, if you're the biggest people who are targets for the medical industry are people who don't know the dangers of the medical industry. But Joan, you know what's going on. So you're in much better condition than most people that go in there. And all you do is you use their diagnostics to your benefit. Right, Carolyn? You've always said that.
That's right. Yes, they're good for diagnosis, but they don't know how to deal with chronic disease. And you want to know if your gallbladder is working or not. If it's not working, then you make the decision. I really think it's important that people don't just out of the box say, I'm never going to do anything to do with allopathic medicine. And just as Ginny said, I've had my surgeries. I would do things that a lot of people would say, oh, my gosh, Dr. Dean or Carolyn is going to do this? I can't believe it. You cannot bias your, cut off your nose to spite your face. I remember one real horrible example where a woman came in labor and delivery. She was going to deliver her child, and this was during my internship at Mount Sinai in Toronto, and she right away started saying, I want a C-section. I'm not going to do natural delivery. And she started demanding a C-section. Now, the worst thing you can do to a doctor, not me, but these surgeons, is to demand something from them or act like you're in charge of your body. So right away they refused her, and she created such a emotional stress in herself that she ended up having a C-section under great duress and putting everybody at risk because of her demands. And in terms of your body, you really have to constantly judge the pros and cons of everything. And we have that choice, and we have that ability. And just like Ginny said, you're much smarter than the average bear, and you go in to get the information you want, and then you do your research and decide what to do. As for malaria and Neem, I really do not know. There are certain areas of Africa that have malaria and others that don't. I wouldn't know what to do. I know I don't do that type of travel because I don't want to get all the vaccines that are required. So I'm not up on the alternatives. So I'm not a good person to ask, besides it being more medical than we're allowed to talk about on this show.
Right. Very good. Okay, excellent. Okay, very good. Jess is saying, hi again. Can the premixed bottle of Pico Silver Remag and Remite be kept over a period of time?
Oh, yes. I mean, that's how I will often travel with everything mixed together. They're all fine, although I don't think anything will precipitate out. We've never had anyone say that, but I suppose that's a consideration. I know this trip, I have my 3 travel containers of 3.4 ounce, and I'm going to fill one with Remag, one with Remite, and one with Pico Silver. And then hopefully when I bump into Ginny up in Toronto, she'll have backup supplies for me. Right, Ginny?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Because I'm traveling, you know me, I will do the camping experiment when I travel. I'm doing a carry-on for 1 month. So put that in your knapsack and smoke it.
There you go. That's quite a statement for Dr. Dean, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. Vicki typing in saying, thank you so much for the Remag. I have ventricular tachycardia and AFib with an AICD. And periodically, my heart just feels like stopping. The Remag has greatly helped my PVCs and TACFib, and I noticed a difference in my beats only after 1 week if I miss my doses. I love you. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's awesome. In just 1 week. And I know some people will say that, and other people say, well, I'm 2 weeks in and I still don't notice anything. And then we'll get our dear CB in the AFib book, who was still having AFib symptoms on and off for, I think she went for a year and a half, but all the time along, and in her history that she gave to me for the book, she knew what triggered her and her stress or eating or this or that. So it's a learning experience, but that's awesome, Vicki. Thank you for sharing that.
Pam types in, thank you for the Remag offer. Could you discuss use for PVCs? My ECG shows PVCs, and they want me to go on beta blockers. I do not feel them. I do not feel them. That's cute.
Well, she doesn't feel the PVCs. I know it. You see, since they developed this new line of blood thinners, they are absolutely going hog wild on diagnosing heart rhythm disturbances so they can give these people a drug. Before that, not so much. And one of the upcoming blogs, what did I label it? It's about EKGs. I wonder if it already went out. Yeah, we haven't gone over the blogs in ages. But I was writing a blog. Oh, yeah, it's already been published. No ECGs for healthy people. And what I say there, and I'm just typing it in as you can do, Carolyn Dean and No ECGs for Healthy People, July 15th it came out. And what I say is, in spite of allopathic medicine wanting to test everyone for everything, one government bod, it should be body, I'll have to fix that, the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force says that, quote, ECG screening is still a bad idea in low cardiovascular risk asymptomatic patients. They made this statement in 2012, and they made it again this year. Quote, resting or exercise screening ECG should be avoided in asymptomatic adults considered to be at low risk for cardiovascular events. I wonder if this sort of fits Barry and why his sort of semi-alternative cardiovascular doctor isn't too concerned because he's asymptomatic. They found adequate evidence that it leads to harms when asymptomatic people get an ECG, they find something, etc. The task force said the primary concern for both types of ECG screening is the harm of subsequent procedures or interventions initiated as a result of screening. They'll put people under angiography, revascularization procedures, and then I say, I also think there's an overdiagnosis of AFib as a result of routine ECG scans. And then I went into, here's what happened to Joe when he went to his doctor for his annual physical. He was asked to fast to have blood drawn, so he arrives at the office dehydrated and hypoglycemic. He hates needles, so he panics when getting his blood taken, and he's even been known to faint. In this condition, he's strapped with leads to the ECG machine, which picks up an irregular heartbeat and tachycardia, as well it should be with this much stress and so many triggers. Joe, in a hydrated, well-fed, relaxed state, would not have an irregular heartbeat, but the dehydrated, hypoglycemic, anxious, tachycardic Joe is now prescribed a beta blocker to reduce his heart rate. As the beta blocker works its voodoo by depleting more magnesium, Joe is likely to develop a real arrhythmia down the road where he'll be offered meds and a cardiac ablation in the relentless march of drug intervention and surgical procedures that have become the mainstay of modern medicine. It would be great if I could tell you to get a reliable blood test to see if you had magnesium deficiency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, look at that, Ginny. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force is even saying stop with this ECG screening and creating problems. Incredible. It's incredible.
Yep. Yeah, it's incredible, and it's unnecessary screening, and everybody's paying for it.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't accomplish anything. Oh, incredible. Yep. Okay, let's see now. Here's next question. Melanie, typing back. Can you please weigh in on EMF radiation and how we can thwart the onslaught of stress on our bodies while trying to detox and regain strength and vitality? I've heard the EMFs can make your good bugs go rogue, and that in the presence of mold, the mycotoxins increase 600-fold.
Well, what we know about EMFs is they're worse in magnesium deficiency. And yes, there is that mold and mycotoxins, I think it is, association. So what do I recommend? Yeast diet and magnesium. That's it. That's what you do. And there's an EMF section in the Magnesium Miracle book. If you don't have the book, you can ask support at RNA Reset to clip that section and send it to you, the EMF section, electromagnetic frequencies. So treatment in my world, for me, is REMAG and the yeast detox protocol. So there.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. We've got about another 20 minutes, and then we're taking our big break for a couple weeks. So if you do have questions, be sure to call in, 602-666-6027. And Carolyn, what would you like to share? We haven't done blogs. We might have mailbag. What is going on your end?
I know a while back Chad wrote an email for us asking what's so special about REMAG, and he's going to make use of those responses. So we've got so much mailbag. I don't think I'll go there, but here's something that you'll be interested in, Jenny, is the challenge of or to customer service staff. This customer writes in, I've used your REMAG for 18 months now, and all of a sudden this summer I started having swelling in my shins and ankles as the day progressed. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. And I wrote back, well, it has been very hot, and that can shift fluid balance. Do you sweat normally, or are you retaining fluid in that regard? So she continues, my doctors think it's possibly too much salt, as we can find no other reason or a change in my diet to precipitate this. So, of course, she's telling her doctor that she's doing the quarter teaspoon of salt in her water, and, oh, yeah, that's the problem. I use other products of yours, too, but not for as long a time and have not had an issue. Cut back the salt to 3/4 of a teaspoon the entire day. That has helped. But do I need the salt with my magnesium? And I said, some salt is helpful, but not if you think it's causing swelling. It's probably the heat. It can shift in, the swelling could shift in the fall and winter. She continues, what would be the effect of the magnesium without salt? She's taken dandelion root as a diuretic, et cetera, et cetera. I said, I don't think there would be an overabundance of minerals. She asked if there would be too many minerals in the salt, and of course not. It's very trace amounts. And I said, but what sea salt are you using? Is it pure white, which means it's mostly sodium? The darker ones are best. So then she wrote back some what we call our Tier 2 responses. She's 78, weighs 137, used the complement formula since fall of 2016, using 3 teaspoons of Remag, which is a good amount. Uses silver, teaspoon 3 times daily for a week, a month. Recalcia, 1 teaspoon as needed. Using the silver for her candida. She's taking blue ice royal, some homeopathics as needed, adrenal cortex daily, the B vitamins, liposomal C, serine, gelatin, and monolaurin. So I asked her what she needed the adrenal cortex for, because that can cause fluid retention. And is she on the Remite for the adrenals? And she says she's had herpes in the past, but under control now. And I wondered if that was the Pico Silver. And are her adrenals getting better? And then she says, when we ask, what drugs are you taking? She's taking Buspar, 15 milligrams. Now, that's an anxiolytic. The second side effect after headaches is fluid retention. And so I said, well, do you really need this? And it could be the culprit. So this is what we have to do in customer service is, although we're not doctors, we just need the information because her doctor said, well, there's nothing that could be causing this. It's probably your salt. But what about Buspar? It's the second major side effect. And if she doesn't need this drug, the side effects do get worse the less you need a medication, in my experience. And she said she's taking her adrenal cortex because her tests were off, and she'd been taking them for 5 months. And I said, in the past, I've only recommended adrenal cortex for 3 months in case the adrenals get too dependent on it. And then I said, the Remite is to support your adrenals along with the Realign and the Remag. And then she says, I can't do the Remite at the moment as my copper levels have not returned to normal. And Remite has copper in it, so I put in caps. But the body requires some copper. You can't just eliminate it. And then I stopped with the caps, and I said, I know about the high incidence of copper in the population. That's why Remite has tiny amounts of bioavailable copper that can even help bump out the metallic non-bioavailable copper. Without Remite, you're not getting all the minerals that the adrenals and thyroid require. And she said her zinc is going up and the copper's slowly coming down. She plans to resume Remite once she's back in balance. And she said the Pico Silver is helping ease the herpes. And she says the anxiolytic drug Buspar she needs at the moment, but have great hopes of giving it up soon. And I know I'm, a lot of words, and partly my concerns are doctors don't look at drug side effects. They refuse to look at the fact that they may be causing people symptoms, so they really do ignore drug side effects. You should be looking up your drugs and looking at the side effects and not having me do it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to be a doctor, but I'm just pointing out to you about this, the fact that drugs can be the first thing to give you the side effects. And this whole copper business and testing and all the rest of it, it's like people don't even think of how their symptoms are. They just wait for the test. Oh, well, the test is better, so I must be better. You really have to assess your self-symptomatically rather than depending on tests, which really can be highly inaccurate. So I thought that was an interesting customer service dilemma, how we have to answer people with all these different layers and levels. So, Ginny, do you have any comment on that?
Well, other than, once again, I just have to say the same thing. I think it's an extraordinary labor of love and devotion on your part as a public educator and as a doctor and as an expert on magnesium and these other nutrients that you tease this all out and really have such a high level of integrity to work with people to make sure that they get the proper education. And this isn't curing or anything. This is educating the people, and you do it all the time, and I think it's awesome. And I love our people. We have great customer service people, and they're very patient, but they're in an intermediary role, and really, what people are after is your wisdom, and you deliver it all the time. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I wasn't searching for a compliment, but I appreciate it. Okay,
no, I know you weren't, but I'm just saying that's just the facts. Nothing but the facts,
right.
ma'am.
Right. Someone writes in, or should I go there? Okay, let's look at this blog, Pulling the Plug on Protandim. I got a lot of responses on this blog, Ginny. And what it is, Protandim is a multi-level marketed 5-herb product that's not organic that so many people are using. When I wrote the blog, it was because I was at an event and someone approached me as soon as they heard that I'm a doctor. They started pushing Protandim on me, and I knew a little bit about it, so I just said, no, I'm not interested. I've got something better, and this gentleman was not interested in what I my minerals, for example. It was just he wanted to tell me all the science behind Protandim and how important it was, et cetera, et cetera. But as I said, it's just a 5-herb combination, not organic. All of them can have individual effects, but when I looked up the doses, none of them are therapeutic. It's very small amounts of the herbs. And, when people say, well, why do these MLM products seem to have an abundance of testimonials associated with them? Assuming they're real, there is an immense placebo effect of the rah-rah promotion in group meetings or when assaulted by someone at a cocktail party. Also, most people are not living a healthy lifestyle, and anything they take will have a positive effect. And if you're making money by promoting the product, you're being paid to feel better. So when asked by customers, because some of our customers, that's what they'll do. They'll write in and say, should I take Protandim? I used to say, go ahead, but don't drop any of your complement formulas because that's where your building blocks are coming from. However, now that I've reviewed the so-called research on Protandim, I'm concerned that you don't want to overwork your antioxidants in drug-like proportions just because it's a new, sexy supplement with a lot of PR behind it. And what I got from a periodontist customer of ours, he said, wow, again, you wrote an excellent piece. I've been approached by some of my professional contemporaries to get on board with Protandim. One person is an MD as well as a functional medicine doc who's been hounding me to try it and become a distributor. I agree completely with you. In addition to overstimulating, and this is what it does, it stimulates an NRF2, what is that? NRF2, let me go back there. NRF2, it's protein NRF1, NRF2. It has some antioxidant activity in the mitochondria. It responds to stress by pumping out more of this chemical responds to increased stress levels by signaling the cell to start making hundreds of different protective molecules that work to bring stress levels back within the normal range. How so? These molecules reduce the stress and promote normal body function by removing toxins, cleaning up damaged cells, improving cell function, and activating a protective response that defends against future stress. Sounds good, right? But we all know that these actions require nutrients in order to work the biochemistry. In fact, if you simply took those nutrients, mostly magnesium, Remag, minerals Remite, and B vitamins Realign, you would be doing all these functions naturally and wouldn't be suffering from stress, and therefore you wouldn't need a herbal drug to boost your defenses. So, and then, as I've said many times, I'm quite concerned about the amount of antioxidants that people are being told to take as if it's a panacea. If you continually take antioxidants, you can interfere with the necessary oxidative function in the body. Or with a flood of antioxidants, the body may stop producing its own. Once again, we humans think we know more than our bodies. So that's my protandum. And then more people said this was informative and needed to be said. Someone else, upon the insistence of an acquaintance, I used protandum for a year. I saw no improvement at all. None, zip, nada. Thank you for this posting. Perfect timing, since the doctor kept insisting that I take this supplement, even though I said I'm taking all of them separately except one. Then the selling point that they make it in a special way was told to me, but I didn't go for it. So there's a lot of doctors pushing protandum. Oh, I've talked on myself right out of existence. Thank you, Jenny.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in a couple weeks. In the meantime, support at RNA Reset if you need any help, and just know we're thinking of you and doing everything we can to make the world a better place. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye, Ginny. Thanks, Ginny. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, listeners.
AchieveRadio.com. Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Well, each human has that non-physical part, the source energy part, and that's the part that resonates with everyone else, you see.
Yes.
And yet you're individual, you have your own embodied individuality. You are the creator of your universe. Your mother erroneously told you that the world doesn't revolve around you, when indeed it absolutely does.
And if your labyrinth of your mind will allow it, all is available to you, unabashedly.